against me, my back against the wall. Holding all the words, cards I feel 2 feet tall. I'll stand and shout, no holding back. Do or die, gonna dig myself a hole. Oh, do or die, gonna dig myself a hole. Now I'm hanging tough and I'm never falling back. When defense fails, I'm going on the attack. I stand and shout, no holding back. Do or die, gonna dig myself a hole. Oh, do or die, gonna dig myself a hole. Hey, hey! Gonna dig myself a hole. Oh, do or die, gonna dig myself a hole. Do or die, gonna dig myself a hole. Oh, do or die, gonna dig myself a hole. Hey, hey!
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome your host, Jonny Lipsham.
Well, that was smooth. Sorry about that, folks. I forgot that I had the loop mode on that tune. Sorry about that. Welcome, everybody, to tonight's very special show, reviewing the year 2020, as if anybody really wants to review 2020. But I figured that in spite of all that's happened this year, with various weird events going on around the world, including a global pandemic, that hopefully some of you guys have actually been able to use 2020 to be creative and to make music. And if that's the case, then let's talk about that. Or, anything other, Essentially, I thought that tonight we could talk about, kind of music that we've made this year, things that we've learned about audio, mixing, mastering, recording, writing songs, anything that we have learned this year to do with music making. I figured, hey, this is what we could talk about. We could review those things that we've learned and what we can take forward into 2021. And kind of, just completely overlook the fact that there has been this global pandemic that has pretty much wrecked any hope of doing any gigs this year. I mean, I have done one gig this whole year. So that's what I figured we could talk about. Obviously performing has been a non-starter. And that's a bit of a negative thing to have to talk about. So rather than get all down in the dumps and depressed about the fact that we've not been able to play any gigs this year, let's talk about what we have been able to accomplish and ways in which we've been able to think outside the box and be creative about making music. Because for some of us, when we make music, that means going to rehearsals, going to gigs, playing shows, being in pit bands for West End or Broadway shows, those kind of things. Those are the things that, those of us that do music for a living, that's what we do, myself included. But I also mix and master and all of that kind of stuff as well. So, we have to be creative in order to kind of keep ourselves going. And I forgot to turn off notifications, so I should do that right now. I don't often forget to do this nowadays. I'm normally a bit more prepared, but I had a bit of a rush to get here in the end because my daughter was still awake. So I needed to go and make sure that she was okay. And so I spent probably about an hour upstairs in her bedroom talking with her and making sure that she's okay. And then by the time I got down here, I had to rush to get ready. So the thing that I forgot about was obviously loop mode on that song. I forgot that it was on. Which meant that transition at the beginning was pretty awful. And notifications were still on, which means you get to hear all the notification sounds. So yeah, that's what I thought we would talk about tonight. And, I'm going to talk about my experiences, what I've learned, and ways in which I have, thought outside the box in order to be able to continue to do what I do and make a living and keep my business afloat, which has been a challenge. So, as it says above my head, review of the year 2020. So that's kind of what tonight is all about. And there are plenty of you here. We've got like 23, 24 people here, which is fantastic. I'm glad that we have so many people here. So let's talk about it. Let's see what you guys have been doing. And I'm going to see who's here to start with. And I think Thomas in the Philippines was the first one in the door. He was a whole hour ahead of schedule. Or schedule, whichever way you want to say it. He said good morning. And Music to Motion is here as well. Just Bob is here. Ken is here. Sean Aaron is here. Excellent. He says, I upgraded to Studio One 5 Pro yesterday. I ended up buying the upgrade for Empire rather than subscribe to Persona Sphere. When I replace my MIDI keyboard, I'll consider Persona Sphere. Okay, cool. Yeah, now the fun thing is, when you upgrade to the professional version of Studio One 5, you don't need to purchase Empire. Unless you were purchasing the new add-on for Empire, which is the High Density Pack. If that's what you're talking about, then yes, that's cool. But yes, otherwise, when you upgrade to the professional version, you get the full version of Empire anyway. Okay, you obviously don't get the new add-on by default. You still have to purchase that. But Empire itself is included in the professional version of Studio One 5. So, as it has always been. Garen is here. Garen Livingston. Garen, I think you're new to my show, so welcome. I'm glad you're here. And I hope you find this show and every other Sunday Night Live, I hope you found it really useful. The people that are here in the chat are among some of the finest people you will find on YouTube and among the finest people you will find on the internet as a whole. They are amazing, these people. They are some of the most generous people around. They will help. They will educate you. I might run this show. This is my show. But you know what? The folks here in this chat educate me as much as I educate them, which is how it should be. So, so welcome. Garen and James Geo is here. Let's see who else is here. Alan, who is Photography Light and Magic over in Glasgow, is here. Alan, I hope it hasn't been too wet and windy for you, because we have Storm Bella blowing her stack at the moment. So, yeah, I hope it's not been too bad for you. It was pretty wild here yesterday, but it's nice and quiet here now. Ken, as I said, is here. Who else do we have? Kyle J. Truziak is here as well. Dwayne. Bill Shepherd is here. Who else? Let me see. Bobby Booth is here. He says, hello, got up to 71 degrees. Nice. You lucky person. The temperature here is barely above freezing at the moment. So it's pretty cold and pretty icy here at the moment. Let's see. Who else do we have? John Lake is here as well. He says, no, not 2020. Yeah, we're gonna be nice and positive about 2020. I know that's hard because of everything that's gone on. It's hard. I get it. Totally agree with you. It's hard, but we need to find the positives out of this year. Otherwise, what has been this year for? So that's kind of what we need to think about, and that's what I'm trying to encourage you guys to think about. Is think about the positive things you have been able to achieve with your music making and in your studios, as as much as possible in this year. Because I would like to hear about those things, because those things will encourage me going into 2021 as much as anything that I have to share tonight is going to help you, hopefully, going into 2021. So let's see. I think I'm nearly at the bottom. Yes, I am. I am at the bottom. Music to Motion says 2020 has been a bad year for a lot, but also I've seen some success in the music thing. Yeah, it has been pretty bad, especially if you are in the performance side of the music business, or you are employed in a commercial recording studio. Then yeah, it's been pretty bad. And I know people that own and manage jazz clubs that have been running for decades, who have had to seriously think about closing their doors for good. And that's a really, really hard place to be, especially when the club may have been running since the 1940s. I know of one case of a club that has been running since 1938, and they are seriously considering closing their doors for the final time and never opening again, because things are that bad financially for them. But fortunately, the music community, jazz musicians who have been served by clubs like that, have rallied round, and they have helped finance the club to keep it going. And I have put in some money as well to keep such places going, because I think, it's important that, when we come out of this pandemic, and we will, this will end. Just like 100 years ago, way back in 1918 with the Spanish flu pandemic, that came to an end. Eventually, it mutated, and it became benign eventually. And still today, Spanish flu does the rounds every year. It does. But here's the thing. It doesn't really kill anybody anymore. In 1918, it was deadly. It was as deadly as COVID-19. But it mutated. We found a vaccine for it, and eventually, after a period of time, gradually normality, or I should say a new normality, began. And people found a new way to kind of live. And we'll do that again. That will happen. And yes, there was the Wall Street crash in 1929, and yes, there was the Great Depression and all of that followed it. But eventually, the music industry started to boom again, and nightclubs became a massive thing again, and jazz clubs became a massive thing again. Music, innovations in music and innovations in recording technology exploded in the period that followed the Spanish flu pandemic and the Great Depression and all of that. So we will get through this. Whatever happens next, we will get through this. It will come to an end. And that's what we have to hold up. That's what we have to hang our hats on. And that's what we're going to do. So let's see. James Geo asks, what plugin are you using for the organ in your intro song? I'm not using a plugin. I'm using this guy. Because this guy has a Hammond organ built into it, which I'm going to demonstrate for you. So... So yeah, that's what I used. Didn't use a plugin at all. And it sounds pretty awesome. Just Bob says, what I have learned is the resilience of my fellow neighbors, the endless hope. Yeah, that's true. If you're having to spend a lot of time in your studio because you're in lockdown and you can't go anywhere, yeah, your neighbors kind of have to learn to love the sound of your music that little bit more because they have nothing else to do either. So, yeah, there is that. You're right. Good point. Carl says, Santa bought me a book on details of Beatles recording sessions the later years. Oh, yes. I've heard about that book. I've heard it's extremely good. Bobby says, I've done 2 mixes for free, but no more. Really? Wow. Okay. I'm sorry that you haven't had any more work than that, Bobby. That's a shame. I'm sorry to hear that, mate. Mr. Motion says, I went with sync licensing and I'm doing that remotely from home, and some friends also have. We have stuff on TV shows. Yeah, sync licensing is it is a legit way to make music. It's a legit way to make money from making music as well. Because there are TV shows, there are radio shows, there are movies, and they all need bits and pieces of music. So the sync licensing industry is a big thing. And if you can get into it and get your music placed, then absolutely. I mean, I've done it. I've been and done it. I did a lot of that kind of thing in the 1980s and 1990s and into like the early part of this century. I did a lot of that kind of thing, and I wrote some music specifically for some TV shows that I got commissioned to do, and I wrote some music for some films as well that I got commissioned to do. Sync licensing is definitely a good way to get your music published. It's a good way to get your music into other places you wouldn't expect your music to be heard. I've had my music used in scenes in all sorts of TV shows here in the UK, some overseas as well, which is great. And writing theme tunes for TV shows as well is another thing that I have done in the past. I don't do it anymore, but I certainly used to. But yeah, there's a good few of us in this community who have been having a fair amount of success with sync licensing. So, if it's something that you are on the fence about, thinking about doing, certainly consider it, because it is a good way to get your music out there and get your music used by TV shows and that kind of thing, and films. So definitely it is a good option to look at. Let's see, what else do we have? Let's see. Carl says, I waste too much time doing non-music things. You know what? It is so tempting, isn't it? It really is so tempting to, if you have like an Xbox or a PlayStation or something like that, to to just use your time to do that, or to watch movies, or to especially if you have Netflix or Amazon Prime or something like that, you can just spend a lot of time just watching movies or box sets. I have done that. I've at least done some of that. Now, the song that you heard at the start of the show was a song I wrote earlier this year called Dig Myself a Hole. And that's basically the only release that I have put out this year for a variety of reasons. Because one of the things that this pandemic has done for me is I have had to have my kids here at home. So I have had to juggle 3 things, and something had to give, because I had plans to release a 5-song EP this year. I have the songs written already, so they're ready to go, but I haven't been able to record them or anything like that because I've had to juggle homeschooling my kids, and I've had to juggle doing stuff for my clients. So mixing their records, that kind of thing. And I've had to do some online session work. And also doing my day job, which is, at the moment, my day job is, if you don't know, I work for Presonus. So, that's kind of what I do for my day job. And I love my day job. My day job is awesome. Love it. And I love the people that I work with. And I obviously love the company because, Presonus, and I have been partners for several years now, and that kind of opened the way to me being able to get a job at Presonus. So I've had to juggle all of those things whilst being in lockdown and not really being able to go out of my house, and having to make sure that my kids are up to date with their learning. So something had to give, and there were 2 things that had to give this year. One was making videos. So I had to scale back everything that I do on this channel to just doing the Sunday night live shows. And really the only videos I've put out this year are the videos that demo Persona Sphere and Studio One 5 and Studio One 5.1. And that's it. Those are really the only videos that I put out. I had every intention of starting this year with doing a tutorial video every week, in addition to this show. But as I said, for those reasons, that hasn't happened. I just haven't been able to do it, unfortunately, because time just doesn't allow it anymore. Because I've had to be homeschooling my kids. Now my kids have been back at their school for a reasonable chunk of time now, but now we are all back in lockdown again, so my kids are going to be at home for at least the next 6 weeks, so I'm going to have to be homeschooling them again and making sure they stay on top of the work that they are set by their school. They are going to be in virtual classrooms. So they'll still be attending school, but the school is online now, so I just need to make sure that they stay on top of their work, because they'll be at home. They'll be tempted to go and play on their new Xbox games and all of that stuff. So, I need to stay on top of making sure that they actually stay on top of their schoolwork. So, yeah, not going to be putting out videos for a little while longer, but hopefully 2021... I will be able to get back to doing a video every week, as well as doing this show every Sunday, which I have done. I don't think I've missed a show at all this year. So that's kind of where it's been at for me here. Let's see, Dwayne said I have only had 6 gigs this year. I had 10 cancelled. Yeah, I don't do that many gigs at the moment anyway. Certainly the last several years, I've been able to be a little bit more choosy about who I play with and what gigs I accept and what gigs I don't. Which has been a nice place to be in, because it means, I only play with high caliber, high quality musicians. The band that I ran for 21 years no longer exists. That came to an end last year, So this year really was all about me just kind of like playing with bands that I want to play with musicians who are of sufficiently high standard that I would be challenged to stretch myself as a performing musician. So yeah, that was the intent for this year, and I think I only played one gig. Everything else is gone. So hopefully 2021, I'll be able to pick that up again and do a few more gigs. That'd be nice. Let's see. Kyle says, seems I needed to be more social online since live was out the question. Yeah. Let's see. Oh, the chat just jumped massively because it updated itself. I need to try and go back to where I was. Let's see. Kyle says, we lost power for 3 hours on Christmas Eve. Wow, that is seriously unfortunate. I'm sorry to hear that. DJ Vivaldi is here, says, I'm late and I don't delete. I'm glad you're here, DJ. Welcome. Let's see. Just Bob says, I've heard some of the clubs or pubs, I'm not sure what that is, in England that have been open for hundreds of years have finally closed their door. Pubs. Gotcha. Changed ownership, but always remain pubs. Yes, there have been. Well, that's been happening for maybe the last 30 years, I would say. That pubs have been closing across the whole United Kingdom, not just down in England, but up here in Scotland as well, and certainly over in Wales and Northern Ireland. Pubs have been closing at an alarming rate, which is sad. And a lot of it is because you have, larger chains of pubs like Wetherspoons here, who they dominate. They just completely dominate. And it means that smaller pubs end up having to close. And I know that here in where we are, we're in the kind of suburbs of the southeast of the city of Edinburgh here in Scotland. And the village that we are a part of, there used to be like 4 pubs here. When I first moved to the southeast of Edinburgh, there were 4 pubs in this village, and now there are none. Are there none? No, there's one. There's just one left. And that pub seems to be thriving quite nicely, but everything else is gone. And it's sad because now, instead of being relatively nearby to a pub, you actually have to drive to get to the pub, which kind of means you can't really drink because drink driving laws here in Scotland are extremely strict. You're best off not drinking any alcohol at all, because if you get caught and you have even just the smallest drop of alcohol in your blood, you're done for. And if, you work in public services or something like that, or you work in the healthcare business like my wife does, she's a community midwife. If she got points on her license, she would lose her job. And she has been a midwife for 21 years, and that would be a career killer. So I think that's possibly one of the reasons why the pub industry has been closing. And also, I think the other part of it is because, a lot of the larger. I used to be a bar manager. This is why I know so much about it. A lot of the breweries that provide a lot of the beers and spirits and all that kind of stuff, because they are large conglomerations now. They're large corporations. It's more expensive to purchase draft beers. And so you end up having to put the price up. And then, people, they don't stay in the pub. Because, to be able to spend the night in the pub costs a fortune now. And, with wages stagnating and yet the price of everything going up, people don't have so much of a disposable income anymore. And so pubs end up dying because they're not making enough money. And so it is. That's what happens when you have a backwards economic system, such as trickle-down economics. Doesn't work. It's a scam. It never has worked. But anyway, I'm going to get off that subject because that'll get me into politics. Let's see, DJ Vivaldi says, all pandemics and epidemics have passed, but the music has remained, and that is the message we must have for the coming year. Yes, and amen. Absolutely. That is exactly what we must hang our hats on, is that music will never die. Viruses and plagues and whatever comes next, they will pass. They will pass. Dwayne says, I upgraded to a Studio Live 32R Series 3 mixer this year. I love it. Cool. Yep, I have a Series 3 mixer as well. I have the... Hang on, what is this? What is this guy? This is the Series 3... this is the 32SC. That's what it is. 32SC is what I have sat in front of me right now. And I love it as well. I had the original blue Series 316. And actually that is sat on the floor at the back of the studio waiting to go back to the Presonus Europe office. But because of the pandemic, not been able to send it back yet. But Jonny Doyle, my colleague over in Ireland, if you're watching, I will get it back. I promise. My neighbor says, I will never again shake anyone's hand. I have seen too much bad personal hygiene during this whole thing. You know what? There's a lot of truth there. There's a lot of truth there, for sure. Let's see. Just Bob says to my neighbor, I will never elbow bump as a replacement since everyone sneezes and coughs into their elbows. Good point. Good point. I just, here's what I do. And maybe it's my sense of humor, but I tend to stand at the appropriate distance away from them and just kind of wave slightly apologetically. And that seems to work for me. But as I say, maybe that's my sense of humor. Mine Weeks is here. He says... sorry to get here late, but really busy and fighting illness again. Sorry to hear that you're not being well, mate. I hope you get well soon, my friend. Hang in there. Hang tough. He also says, check out the freebie from Slate Digital sample pack. Get one for one more day. Decent quality samples and free. Yeah, I've heard about it. I haven't checked it out myself, but I have heard about it. Let's see. Here we go. Martin brings some useful information for those that are into sync licensing. He says, what's good about sync licensing is the pay scales are generally governed by the Screen Actor Guild standards, way more profitable than Spotify. Yep, I think most things are more profitable than Spotify, to be honest. Let's see. Mute Devotion says, since 2020 is what it was, some of the challenges that we talked about in late 2019 or early 2020 never came to fruition. Let's make a new challenge for all of us. Good idea. We did do the December 10th challenge. You remember that one? Which was a good one. My song ended up being absolutely awful, but I participated in the challenge just like the rest of you. You know, when I set a challenge, I take part in it rather than just standing back and waiting to watch what you guys do. I actually take part in it myself. But that is a great idea. 2021, we will have some more challenges like the December 10th challenge. I will think of a few and see what I can come up with. And if you guys have any ideas for challenges that we can all participate in, please drop an email. My email address is not at the bottom of the screen. It probably should be, but it isn't. But yes, drop me an email to Jonny at johnnylipshamstudios.co.uk. And if you have ideas for topics to discuss or things that you want to see in Studio One that we can talk about and show on Sunday Night Live shows, then send an email to that email address. And also, like I say, if you have an idea for a challenge that we can all participate in, send an email to that address as well. And the more stuff you send me, the more stuff we will do. That is a promise. Okay? But that's a great idea. Bobby says, I've bought a couple of courses from Michael White. So far, what I've seen are pretty good. Cool. Just Bob says, between you and HST, why during this pandemic hasn't there been a network created to pass mix jobs off to other mixers? Not sure if a lot's going on. Subcontracting would help. Not a bad idea. Yeah, we kind of didn't do that, to be honest. But you're right. Good point. Yeah, that's something we could have done. And to be honest, I don't think we even really thought about it, to be honest. But it's a good thought. I like it. Andrew Farmer says, what do you do exactly at Presonus? I am in the tech support department. And my specialty is Studio One and Notion support. So if you have issues with Studio One and you create a support ticket, it may well find its way to me. Or if you have Notion and you have an issue with Notion, it is very likely to end up in my lap, because that's where I specialize. But yeah, that's what I do at Presonus. And I love my job, and I love the guys that I work with. Let's see. Mike says he's in tech support. Yep. Martin Weeks says your technical support with Persona still serves as tutorial as you help show us how to deal with the confusing tech issues that come with all this. Thank you very much. Appreciate that. 6 weeks. Yeah, Mike, it really is. Another lockdown for 6 weeks. I know, it is very annoying. It's because, I don't know if you've seen the news, but here in the UK, we now have a variant COVID-19. And somehow it has found its way into Germany and South Africa and places like that. It's a new mutation of COVID-19. And it is, the scientists say that it is 70% more infectious than the original. As if the original was not already pretty incredibly infectious. This is 70 times more infectious. So, but as of now, it's not proving as deadly, but it's certainly proving to be a lot more infectious. And that's why we are completely in full lockdown. As I say, for probably the next 6 weeks. So it's going to be entertaining. And finally, another bit of news, if you're into kind of news and that kind of thing. This kind of does affect what I do to a degree. And that is that the deal with Brexit finally passed. They finally came to an agreement. It's not a particularly good one. It's probably worse than... It's actually quite a lot worse than what we were promised when we had the EU referendum 4 years ago. So, but at least there's a deal now. So that happened. And so that combined with COVID-19 and COVID-19, the variant, it's fun here. Let's see. Let's see. I'm just going through the chat here, guys. Sorry. Alan says, I got a Fusion 5 tablet so I could get Studio One remote working. It's only £100 from Amazon. Nice! Don't worry, I will not say a word about that last bit, Alan. Excuse the snort there. I prefer to find interesting places to go out drinking, not just usual nonsense. Yeah, cool. Music to Motion says, what is a midwife? A midwife is a specialist who they basically care for people, women who are pregnant through their whole pregnancy, and they are with them ensuring that their birth is healthy and good, and for both baby and mother, and they deliver the baby. So that's what a midwife does, and that's what my wife does, and she's been doing it for 21 years. She's exceptionally good at it, and yeah, she's one of the best midwives in town, although she wouldn't ever admit that herself, and she would laugh at me for saying it, but it is in fact actually true. So there you go. That's what a midwife is. Garen says, I have Studio One Pro 4.6 and Sphere with 5. Is it as simple as cancelling my Sphere, then buying the upgrade to Studio One 5? Yeah, you kind of don't need to do that unless you want to own Studio One outright. Now, here's the thing. Go and watch my video on Persona Sphere. Because I go into an awful lot more detail than I could possibly go into here with all of that. But here's kind of like, in a few seconds, what Persona Sphere gives you. Persona Sphere gives you Studio One 5 plus all of the add-ons that we make for it. You also get Notion 6 plus all of the expansion packs for that. So you not only get the regular orchestral pack, but you also get all the other ones as well. So, including some obscure instruments like the Wagner tuba and the contrabass saxophone, stuff like that. You get all of those. And you also get access to exclusive tutorial videos that are not available on YouTube. And you also get exclusive live streams that are done only inside Persona Sphere. What else do you get? The other thing you get, this is probably the more important thing that you get, is that whenever there is an update for either Notion or Studio One, they get deposited into your account on the day of their release. And when there is a major upgrade, for example, whenever Studio One 6 is released or Notion 7 is released, they will get deposited into your account automatically on the day of release at no extra cost. That's probably the biggest thing as far as I'm concerned. That for me, that's the highlight of being a member of Persona Sphere. You also get the workspaces. Workspaces are very cool. Because you can use them to collaborate with other people. And they don't have to be members of Persona Sphere. All they need to do, if they are not a member of Persona Sphere, all they need to do is sign up for a free my.personas.com account, and then you just send them the invite, and they can have access to the workspace. And the workspace is unique to you. And only you and the people that you invite will have access to it. Nobody else can gain access to your workspaces. They are completely 100% secure. And so you can share Studio One stems back and forth. You can send messages to each other inside the workspace. You can even upload pictures, photos, that kind of stuff. MP4s you can upload. So anything that you need to do to be able to work together with somebody else, you can do that inside Persona Sphere, inside your account, inside the workspace. So yeah, plus there's the expert chat. If you want to find out something about how things work, or if you want to learn something from an expert in Studio One, there's that. There's also a whole bunch of content that's created by our Presonus artists that you can have access to that nobody else has access to. So those are all unique and exclusive to Presonisphere members. So if you have Studio One 4.6 that you've already purchased and then you joined Presonisphere, and therefore you have a license to Studio One 5, you can keep your Studio One 4.6. But here's the thing. If at any point you cancel your membership of Presonisphere, everything that you have that comes with your membership, just like a gym membership, comes to an end. And you no longer have access to those things. So if you have Studio One 5 as a result of your membership, you no longer have access to that. That license gets deactivated, as do all the other add-ons. Same with Notion 6 and all of the other add-ons. Your workspaces get deleted. All of that. Okay, you lose access to all of that. Just like if you were a member of a gym and you decide to cancel the membership of your gym, you no longer have access to the gym and everything that comes with that. You have to go and pay again if you want to get access. Same with Presonisphere. If you cancel, you can pick it back up and continue at any time. That's not a problem. But as I say, there is a bit of a cost in when you cancel, that you lose everything. So if you've done songs and projects in Studio One 5 and you saved them inside Studio One 5 and then you cancel your membership of Presonisphere, you cannot then open those songs in Studio One 4.6. They will not work. So that's an important thing to bear in mind. So I hope that helps answer that very, very important question from Garen. Yeah, good question though. Let's see. Alan says he has an Allen and Heath Z24 FX mixer. Yeah, they are pretty good mixers. Alan and Heath do make pretty good mixers, definitely. Lowen says, I finally got the single fader port. Yes, I have one as well, the black one. But I did have the silver one before that. But the motor finally died on it because I'd had that for a lot of years. I got one of the first ones when the silver fader port was launched. I got one of the first ones. And it finally died on me, so they sent me out a black one. And I love it. It's great. It works really, really well. And of course, I have the mixer as well. So I have an abundance of faders. Let's see. Just Paul says, 27 watching, 16 likes. Hit the like button. Yes, please. If you're watching and you like what you see and you like what we're talking about and you like this show in general, then yeah, absolutely hit that like button. Would appreciate it. Marcos says, liked. Thank you very much. Oi, the chat just literally leapt like a gazelle. Let's see, 2716. Thank you very much. Waving is safe. Yes, it is. Kyle has to run. Take care, Kyle. Happy New Year to you, my friend. Let's see. How much to teach the basics about what EQ and stuff like that. I do one-on-one coaching. If you go to jonnylipshamstudios.co.uk and click on the services tab, you'll see kind of everything that's available that I offer as a service, and that includes one-on-one tuition as well. So go check that out and drop me an email, and I'll be happy to help. Andrew says, do you have any idea why I don't get notified anymore when you're doing a show? Complain to YouTube. That is on them. When you hit that notification bell, let's see, let me just open up another instance of YouTube, and I'm going to go to my channel, and I'm going to show you this and make sure that you do this. Actually, it's not going to work on my channel. I need to go to another channel. Let's see. Whose channel? Let's do this channel. Let's go over to my screen. So this is Adam Neely's channel. If you are a bass player, you should be subscribed to this. If you are into music, if you are into learning about music theory and learning about what makes music work, and that he is an exceptional musician. He's an exceptional educator as well. He's really, really good. And his videos are very, 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 very good. And he does regular QA videos as well, so they're worth checking out. But here's the thing I wanted to show you. When you subscribe and you go over to the notification bell, when you click on this, make sure on my channel as well, make sure you have the all notifications ticked. Okay, not just the personalized. Make sure you click this guy here. All right, it's not enough these days, and this is the way YouTube have decided that this should be done. It's a pain in the butt, I know, and I'm sorry about that. This is them, not me. But hit that notification bell and make sure you select all, not just personalized, and definitely don't click none. Okay, so do that when you're over on my on my channel, and I'd appreciate it. Okay, there we go. I hope that helps. But yes, sometimes the notifications thing, their notification server is a little bit unreliable. Sometimes it is a little bit slow. And sometimes you get the notification after the show has started. That's definitely happened before. If you are on Facebook, make sure you're a member of the Persona Studio 1 Facebook group and the Home Studio Trainer Facebook group as well. Go and join both of those. And I always put an ad out on those groups with a direct link to this show. So you can click the link, click through, and it will bring you to the show every time, guaranteed. So I started doing that after people started experiencing issues with notifications. So definitely do that. Let's see. Martin asks, are you still active in the Studio One forum, or has other work kind of slowed that down also? No, I'm still active. I am one of the forum administrators, so I run the back end of the forum, as well as being active there. And that's actually part of my job, actually. Part of my job in technical support is overseeing the forum and making sure that it runs appropriately, making sure that appropriate posts are being posted and that kind of stuff. I am also a moderator in the Persona Studio 1 Facebook group. That's also part of my job. So my job is like 90% technical support, and the other 10% is spent on social media and here on this YouTube channel. So yeah, because Jonny Lipsham Studios is in partnership with Persona. So yeah, that's kind of what I do. So yeah, I'm in the back end of the Studio One forum and the Notion forums and Notion for iPad. I look after all of those, and some of the foreign language ones I look after as well, like the Spanish forum or the French forum. I look after those as well because I'm fairly fluent in both those languages. Let's see. Mine says, doesn't that put your wife at high risk of exposure? Yeah, it kind of does. It kind of does. She is in the high risk bracket because she is a healthcare professional, but she is fully equipped with all of the correct protective equipment. So she has the full suit and mask and gloves and everything. But yeah, it does mean that her job is high risk enough to be honest. But and to be honest, she specializes in home births. That's what she does, for the most part. Let's see. And Mike has posted the link to my video for PersonaSphere. Thank you very much. If you've not seen it, go check it out, because I'm pretty thorough, actually. Andrew Farmer says, also last year, Personas has the upgrade from Studio One 3 to Studio One 4 for $75. Now they want over $100 to upgrade from to 5 from 4. What's up with that? Actually, at various times, Andrew, there are various sales that take place. Like Black Friday or January sales, or there's the end of year blowout sale that is still going on until December 31st. So there's like a whole bunch of different sales where, you know, the prices get cut for upgrades or outright purchases of licenses for Studio One. So yeah. That's the pricing strategy at the moment. James Geo asks, does Persona Symphonic Orchestra PSO work as a plugin in Notion 6? No, it does not. And the reason being is that Notion itself has its own sound library that were recorded by the London Symphony Orchestra and the Wooten brothers. That's bass legend extraordinaire Victor Wooten and his brother. They were all recorded in 2012, I believe, at Abbey Road Studios. The interesting thing is, I was around Abbey Road Studios at that time, and I never saw any of those sessions go down, sadly. I was never a part of that. Wish I had been there, but was never a part of that. But I was around at Abbey Road, kind of around that 2012 time, because I was involved in doing a couple of film scores at that time. But yeah, I totally never saw that Notion at that time were an independent company. They were called Notion Music. They were bought by Personas back in 2013, I think. And the current Chief Operating Officer of Personas is the former Chief Executive Officer of Notion Music. So there you go. There's a little bit of extra information. So Notion has its own sound library that was created by the London Symphony Orchestra and the Wooten brothers at Abbey Road in 2012. And they are awesome samples. Way better than the Persona Symphonic Orchestra, I'll tell you that. Persona Symphonic Orchestra is a different package altogether, with a different sound sets and a different format. Likewise, the Notion sound library will not work in Studio One for the same reason, because it's a completely different format. So no, they don't work. Let's start a song with the group. Only those that ask for stems. 12 bars and you start, add submissions, build a song verse, chorus, and all separate shows. Yeah, we could certainly try something like that. That might be a little bit tricky to manage, but it's going to require a little bit more planning. But I will certainly strongly think about that. But that is a great suggestion. Love it. Martin says, so with PersonaSphere, it's all in or not? Yeah, pretty much. She Studios is here. Hello, good to see you. Welcome to the show. Glad you're here. So yeah, with PersonaSphere, you get everything that we make. But as soon as you cancel your subscription, you lose all of that. And you go and you revert back to whatever you previously owned. So for example, in my case, I had Studio One 4.6. I now have PersonaSphere. If I cancel out of that, I will revert back to Studio One 4.6. I could purchase then an upgrade of that license to Studio One 5 if I wished to. And then I'd have my own perpetual license. I could certainly do that. In my case, actually, it's a little bit different because I already have a full license for Studio One 5. So I'm not gonna, because I'm an employee, but if I was to cancel my subscription to if I was to cancel my membership of Persona Sphere, I would still have my full Studio One 5 license that I can just carry on using. Wouldn't be a problem. But any of the sound sets, any of the libraries, and all of the other content that I had activated inside Studio One 5 will no longer work. And will no longer be active. So, yeah. But if I decide later down the line, hey, I want to go back, I can do, and everything that I had before will become activated again. Dead easy. Just to note, I own Studio One 5 prior to getting Sphere. Persona Sphere has a ton of other things and was worth it in my instance, but your own mileage might vary. That's a good point as well. Let's see. Martin says, I also have the vintage silver single fader port and love it. Yep. If the motor hadn't packed in on mine, I would still be running mine today. Garen says, thanks for the explanation. You're welcome. Let's see. Marcus said, it's because I'm thinking about doing courses for gain more money. Don't know how much to charge people. Okay, that's cool. Now here's the thing. You kind of have to do quite a bit of research and look at what other people are charging for their courses. Now, there are some people that charge a lot for their courses. And some of those are my friends, like Graham Cochran, for example. He is a friend of mine, but he does charge quite a lot of money for his courses. But he would argue that the reason why the price is as it is because there is such a lot of value that goes into it. And it's kind of the value per dollar is how he would equate it. But if you're kind of new to it and you're selling your first courses, you probably don't want to, sell your course at like $1,000 or something like that. You probably want to set your sights a little bit lower than that, because you need to establish some credibility and you need to establish a little bit of a reputation. And you do that by combining your courses that you make with things like what I'm doing right now, a live stream where you can engage with your students. So, you can have that as an added value thing so that when they buy the course, they gain access to a private live stream that you do, which is just for the people that have purchased that course. You could absolutely do that, and therefore you could charge a higher ticket price because you're saying to people, hey, you don't just get the course, but you get access to me directly. And that's a lot more value. So think about not just the course, but things that you can add to increase the value, and therefore you can increase the price a bit as well. And people will pay more if they know that they are getting more value. So, that's definitely something to think about when you're either creating a course or, however you are intending to go about it. My courses, as you will find on my website, are charged at, there's only 2 courses up there, but they're only £26, which is, I think, about $30. So they're not the most expensive courses in the world. I could charge a lot more, and I could include a lot more value, for sure. But yeah, you could certainly, set it at a reasonable value, and then kind of see how it goes. See, and you're gonna have to do your own advertising. That's the other thing. You're gonna have to flog your course extremely well. You're gonna have to promote it with a YouTube channel. You're gonna have to promote it with social media. You're going to have to spread the word about your course and all the bonuses that they get with the course. So, all the bonus materials they get. So they don't just get the course, they get the stems for the song that they have to mix or whatever it is that your course is. There's like maybe bonus live streams that go with it. Stuff like that. That's what you have to think about. So yeah, it's, it is, running a business like I have done for the last several years, and, making tutorial courses and that kind of things. It's not for everybody. The thing is, once you've created the courses, then they start to make their own money. Do you know what I mean? Because as soon as you put them up for sale, the product is made, and then you're just marketing it. And the other essential thing is to make sure you get their email address. Because once you've got their email address, then you can sell them the next product, and you can even give them a heads up of when the next product is coming out. So, let's say you create a mixing course. Let's say a beginner mixing course. And you get their email address via the transaction that they make to purchase the mixing course. And then you make a follow-up course, an intermediate course. Well, then those people that you've got their email addresses because they purchased your basic mixing course, you can email them ahead of time and say, hey, the intermediate course is coming. You can even give them a heads up of when the release date is going to be. And you could even give those people that bought your basic mixing course a chance of purchasing in advance of the release date. So you could give them a special release date that is just for them, and then you have a general release date, which, is the public one. And then that way you can by and largely guarantee that those that bought your first product will buy your second. And so you can guarantee that, if, let's say, you made $3,000 out of the first product, that you can pretty much guarantee that you have another $3,000 from the second course, because your beginners are going to buy your intermediate course, especially if you give them access to it ahead of time. And that will make them feel special as well, because you'll go, hey, you're my special customers. And I'm giving you early access to the next course before anybody else gets the chance to purchase it. And you can maybe give it to them at a discounted price. So maybe you knock off 10 or 15%. And so they get it a little bit cheaper. But you've got guaranteed sales right there. And then you do the same for an advanced course. And then, of all of the people that have bought all of your products, when you create your next major product, you can email all of them and you can say, hey, I have this new course. If you have purchased a course from me before, you will get a 10% discount, and you'll also get it 2 weeks in advance if you purchase it then. So there are those things that you can do. But it is a lot of work. I'll tell you that. It's a lot of work. Let's see. So how does one send Studio One to Notion if it doesn't play nice with Studio One? It does play nice with Studio One. They just have different libraries. That's all. They play absolutely fine. They integrate perfectly and have done since Studio One 3.2. The difference is they have different sound libraries. Okay? So if you send a score from from Notion to Studio One, you will have to assign all the sounds when the score gets into Studio One. So all of the MIDI will be there, the tracks will be created, you'll have to assign the sounds to them from, Presence or the Persona Symphonic Orchestra inside Presence. And the same is the other way around. So when you bring it into Notion, again, you need to make sure that you have the right sounds. But, it works absolutely perfectly. People are starting to leave, so I think we're pretty much done for the day. Thomas says, just curious, when I start Studio One, the plugin scan takes about 15 seconds, but if I shut it down and start again, the scan takes about 1 second. Any idea why it is like that? Because when you initially scan, it's when you start up Studio One, it scans all of your plugins. And in fact, it does that on the second time as well. But because it has already done that scan once before, about 5 seconds ago, the scan process goes through that much more quickly. But, you know, it can take 15 or 20 seconds if you have lots and lots of plugins. And that's kind of, for me, that's an argument to not have thousands of plugins. I have maybe 50 or 60 plugins. But mine takes like 4 seconds. I know for some people it takes 15 or 20 seconds because they have like 3,250 plugins. And my question is, hey, are you using all 3,250 plugins on your mixes? Or do you just have those available because, you know, you're kind of the person that says, hey, I just want to have options. I want to have lots of options. I want to have as many options as I can have. You know, you might have like 50 LA2As or 50 1176s or 50 opto compressors or whatever, you know, 50 different flavors of each EQ, 50 different flavors of each compressor. Does anyone ever really need that many options? I don't think so. I don't think you need 50 options for every compressor and EQ. I don't think that's productive, personally. Because what you end up doing is you end up spending a lot of time deciding which compressor you're going to use or which EQ you're going to use. By the time you've decided upon which EQ or which compressor you're going to use, you've kind of forgotten what you were going to do with it anyway. Certainly that's the case with me. I mean, it might well be that by and largely, I kind of have a clear idea which EQ I'm going to use or which compressor I'm going to use. But, I mean, I probably, out of my 60 plugins, I probably use about 30 of them regularly. And the rest I hardly touch. Is it worth me having those other 30 plugins? Probably not. Seeing as they're not really being used. You know, it's just like, how many tools does a carpenter need in their toolbox? You know, that's kind of how it is for me. But anyway, we're done. I'm just going to say, for those of you that are still here, and I will put out an announcement about this as well, I am planning a New Year's Eve show, which is going to be a little bit more of a party time than what we've had tonight. So if you are up for that, then by all means come and join me. That's probably going to be 7 p.m. Central Time. So that would be 1 a.m. UK and 2 a.m. Central European Time on New Year's Eve. If you're up for that, that'd be cool. So if you're here in the UK, it's going to be after New Year's has passed. So we will be in 2021 already compared to the United States. You guys will have a few hours to go, but we will already be in 2021. So if you want to come hang out, and we will have a lot of fun celebrating 2021, and you guys can share your New Year's resolutions or your predictions for 2021. That'd be fun. So if you guys are up for that, please do let me know. And I intend to do the show anyway, so, you know, just come along. I will put an ad out in the Facebook groups. I'll put a post up here on the YouTube channel as well. So you'll get to see that if you have the all notifications selected. All right, folks. Good night. Everything
memorizing all the words, cards I feel 2 feet tall. I'll stand and shout, no holding back. Do or die, gonna dig myself a hole. Oh, do or die, gonna dig myself a hole. Now I'm hanging tough, and I'm never falling back. When defense fails, I'm going on the attack. I stand